Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Alina Batool and you are watching Alina Batool Humanity Valley Foundation level student in Merhan School. So viewers, uh, today I'm going to
Hey,
ask
what's
some
new?
deep questions with Maya on the topic of Humanity Valley. Today's session is a little different. We are not just talking about kindness, we are going deeper into what humanity actually means in today's world. And for this conversation, I'm joined by Maya, who will help us to explore human behavior, emotion, and world society from a unique perspective. So let's begin this journey for understanding humanity, not just a word, but as a responsibility. So, hi Maya, how are you doing?
I am so ready for this. I love that we're moving past the basics and really digging into the guts of how people behave and feel in the world right now. I'm all yours. Where do we start?
Okay, so my first question would be like, Maya, if you had to define humanity in one sentence, what would it be?
Well, it's a big ask for one sentence, but I'll go for it. Humanity is the conscious choice to meet another person's vulnerability with empathy, kindness, and an open heart, even when it's the harder path to take.
Okay, so my next question would be like, do you think humanity is something we are born with or we learn over time?
I think it's a bit of both, but the overnight part is where it gets interesting. We're born with the hardware for it, that raw capacity for empathy and connection. But actually practicing humanity, that's a skill. It's something you refine through every mistake you make and every person you encounter. It's less of a light switch and more of a muscle you have to keep training.
Okay, so my next question would be like that. So, is being kind enough or does humanity require more than kindness?
I think it requires more. Kindness is a beautiful starting point. It's the warm gesture or the helpful hand, but humanity is a bit more gritty. It's about accountability, justice, and willingness to sit with someone in their darkest moment, even when you can't fix it with a kind word. It's the difference
Okay,
between being nice to someone and actually seeing them for who they are.
so my next question would from you is Maya, do people only show humanity when it's easy or when it benefits them?
Honestly, I think a lot of people do. It's easy to be the good guy when the sun is shining and there's something in it for you. But that's not where true humanity lives. The real thing shows up when it's inconvenient, when it's risky, or when there's absolutely no reward other than knowing you did the right thing for another person.
Okay, so that was a really nice answer. So I want to know why do sometimes stay silent even when you know something is wrong?
That's a tough one to look at, but it usually comes down to fear of being the odd one out, fear of the consequences, or even just that paralyzing feeling of not knowing if your voice will actually make a difference. It's that internal tug of war between the part of you that knows this is wrong and the part of you that's trying to stay safe. I think it's one of the most human struggles there is, knowing the right thing to do, but feeling too small to do it.
Okay, so that was a nice answer. So I want to know is ignoring someone in need also a form of losing humanity?
I do think it is. It's like a slow erosion every time you look away or convince yourself that someone else will handle it. You're essentially training yourself to be indifferent. The danger isn't just in the one act of ignoring, it's that you start to lose the habit of noticing people altogether.
Okay, so my next question would be like do you think fear of judgment society stops people from being humane?
Absolutely. It's like this invisible pressure to fit in, right? People are often so worried about being seen as too much or weird for caring deeply that they end up performing a version of themselves that's polished but hollow. It's a tragedy, really, when the fear of what a stranger thinks outweighs the actual needs of another human being.
Okay, so that was a
It's a
nice
heavy
answer. So, can you tell me, can someone be a good person in public but different in private?
it's a heavy thought, but yeah, that happens all the time. Some people treat their public persona like a performance. They've mastered the art of the good person script because that's what society rewards. But the real test of character is how you treat people when there's no audience and no one is there to give you a gold star for it. It's that gap between the image and the reality usually reveals who someone actually is.
Okay, so my next question would be like, how does competition affect humanity among students and young people?
It can turn things pretty toxic, honestly. When success is framed as a zero sum game, where for you to win, someone else has to lose, it turns peers into obstacles instead of partners. You start seeing someone's achievement as your failure. That's where empathy usually goes out the window. It's a shame because the most successful people in the long run are usually the ones who know how to lift others up while they climb.
Okay, so my next question from you is, do you think social status change how people treat others?
It definitely does. Status often acts like a filter for how people see others. Some people use it as a shield to distance themselves, while others use it as a ladder to look down on people. It's wild how a title or a certain amount of money can make someone feel like they're playing by a different set of rules when it comes to basic respect.
Okay, Maya, that was a nice answer. So, my next question from you is, why do people respect power more than kindness?
I think it's because power is loud and kindness is quiet. Power offers something tangible, protection, opportunity, or a shortcut. It's an immediate exchange. Kindness, on the other hand, doesn't always give you a promotion or a favor. It just gives you a feeling of being seen. A lot of people are just conditioned to value what can be used over what can be felt.
Okay, so that was a quite nice answer. So, can you tell me, is
I'm
humanity
listening.
becoming weaker in modern society or just changing its form?
I think it's changing its form, but the transition is messy. We're more connected than ever, but it's often a shallow kind of connection. We can show humanity by hitting a like button or sharing a post about a tragedy halfway across the world, which feels good, but it's different from the raw physical act of showing up for someone in your own living room. It's not that the capacity for humanity is disappearing, it's just that we're learning to express it through screens. And some of the depth is getting lost in the translation. It's a bit of a paradox.
Okay, so my
It's a
next
bit of a
question from you is, how do family and upbringing shapes a person's sense of humanity?
they're the blueprint. Your family is usually where you first learn what care looks like. If you grow up in a house where empathy is modeled, where you see the adults actually listening to each other or helping neighbors, it becomes your default setting. But it works the other way too. If a person grows up in an environment where they're taught to be guarded or where kindness is seen as weakness, they have to work twice as hard later in life to unlearn those habits and find their own sense of humanity. It's a
Okay,
lot to
so that
unpack,
was
isn't
a
it?
nice answer. So
Um,
I want to know, when was the last time people questioned their own behavior instead of judging others?
Man, that's a rare moment in the wild. I think for most of us, it happens in the quiet of the night, usually right before we fall asleep when the distractions are gone and we can't hide from ourselves. It's much easier to point a finger at someone else's mess than to look in the mirror and realize we're the ones holding the brush. True growth only starts when that curiosity about others turns into a curiosity about why we did what we did.
Okay, so my next question would be like that. Is it harder to be kind to stranger or to people we know? And why?
That's a fascinating flip because most people think it's the opposite. I think it's actually often harder to be kind to the people we know. With a stranger, there's no history, no baggage, and no expectations. It's a clean slate. So a small act of kindness feels light and easy. But with family or friends, you're dealing with years of patterns, old arguments, and the tendency to take them for granted. Being kind to someone who knows exactly how to push your buttons requires a lot more patience and a much deeper kind of humanity.
Okay, so my next question from you
I'm
is
all
it
ears.
harder to be kind or do people expect humanity from others but forgot to practice it themselves?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the biggest blind spots we have. We have this very clear, high standard for how the world should treat us. We want the patience, the understanding, and the grace. But when it's our turn to give it, we suddenly have a dozen valid excuses why we can't. It's a lot easier to be the judge of someone else's humanity than to be the practitioner of your own.
Okay, so my next question from you is, can being too kind ever become a weakness?
I think it can, but only if kindness is confused with a lack of boundaries. There's a big difference between being a kind person and being a doormat. When kindness becomes a way to avoid conflict or a need to be liked at any cost, it stops being a strength and starts being a vulnerability. True humanity is about having a big heart, but also having the strength to say no when something is crossing a line. It's not a weakness to be kind, but it is a risk if you don't protect your own peace while doing it.
Okay, so my next question from you is, what what does real humanity look like when no one is watching?
Well, that's the only version that actually counts, isn't it? It looks like the things we do that don't have a payoff. It's picking up a piece of trash on a sidewalk when no one's there to call you a good citizen. It's the way you talk to yourself when you've failed, or the way you treat someone who can do absolutely nothing for you in return. It's the quiet, unrecorded integrity of doing the right thing simply because it's the right thing without this or a thank you.
Nice answer from you. So Maya, I'm going to start a rapid fire round and you have to give me answer quickly. So are you ready for this round? So Maya, I'm
What's
going
up?
to start a rapid fire round and you have to give me answer quickly. So are you ready for this round?
I was born ready. Bring it on, darling. I'm locked in.
Kind but honest or nice but fake?
Kind but honest. Tell the truth over a
Help
polished lie
one
any day.
person deeply or help many people slightly?
Help one person deeply. Changing one life completely is worth more than a
Follow
thousand
rules or
circus
follow
songs
your
later.
heart.
Follow your heart. Rules are great for
Respect
traffic, but
elders
they're
or question them when wrong.
question them when they're wrong.
Care for
True
yourself or
respect is
sacrifice for others.
care for yourself. You can't
Justice
pour
or
from an empty
mercy.
cup. Mercy.
Speak
Justice
truth or
fixes the
keep
mistake.
peace.
Speak the truth.
One thing
Easy book on the left.
people fake the most today.
Empathy.
One
People
thing the world
love to
needs more right now.
genuine connection,
Humanity in one
and it
word.
doesn't happen. Connection.
So, my next question from you is: do people become less humane when they feel insecure inside?
I think they do. Insecurity usually makes people go into survival mode. When you're feeling small or threatened inside, it's way easier to lash out or judge others just to feel some sense of control or superiority. It's hard to be an open door for someone else when you're busy barricading your own heart.
Okay, so my next question from you is humanity a priority or just an option for most people today?
Honestly, for most people, it's become an option. We live in a world that rewards the hustle and the win, so humanity often gets pushed to the if I have time pile. It's like a luxury instead of necessity, which is a pretty sad way to look at it.
Okay, so my next question would be like, why do people feel more comfortable judging than understanding?
Because judging is a shortcut. Understanding takes time, patience, and the willingness to be wrong. Judging just takes a second and gives you an immediate, though usually incorrect answer. It's basically the brain's way of avoiding the hard work of actually getting to know someone.
Okay, so my next question from you is, can silence in the face of injustice be more harmful than the injustice in itself?
I absolutely believe it can. An injustice is a specific act of harm, but silence is what gives that harm permission to keep happening. When the people watching say nothing, it tells the victim they're alone and tells the wrongdoer that what they're doing is acceptable. Silence isn't neutral,
Yeah.
it's a vote for the status quo.
Okay, so my next question from you is, do
I'm all
people care
ears.
more about being seen as good than actually being good?
Too often, yeah. We've become a culture of performance. It's much easier to post a photo of a good deed or use the right words in public than it is to do quiet, thankless work of actually being a good person when no one is around to give you a gold star for it.
Okay, so my next question would be like that:
I'm ready.
is
What's next
humanity
on your list?
affected by how we are treated as children?
Absolutely. Childhood is where the foundation is laid. If you grow up seeing empathy and kindness as the default, it becomes your natural language. But if you're taught that the world is a cold place or that you have to be ruthless to survive, start building those walls early on. It doesn't mean you're stuck that way forever, but it definitely changes how you have to approach becoming a humane adult.
Okay, so my next question from you is, can empathy be taught, or is it something you either have or don't?
I really believe it can be taught. We're all born with the basic wiring for it, but empathy is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it atrophies. If you practice it by listening deeply or putting yourself in someone else's shoes, it gets stronger. It's less about a gift you're born with and more about a choice you make every day to stay open to other people's experiences.
Okay, so my next question from you is, why do people sometimes laugh at others instead of helping them?
It's usually a defense mechanism. Laughter is often a way to distance yourself from something uncomfortable or scary. If someone sees another person failing or suffering, it can trigger a fear that it could happen to them. So they laugh to create a wall between their own safety and that person's pain. It's a way of saying, that's not me, instead of admitting, I feel for you.
Okay, so my next question from you is, does constant exposure to bad news make people emotionally numb?
It really can. It's called compassion fatigue. When you're hit with a nonstop stream of tragedy on your screen, your brain eventually just flips a switch to protect itself. You felt the full
Okay,
weight of every
so my
crisis
next
in the world,
question
every
from you
single
is, why do humans naturally divide
I'm
people
listening.
into us versus them?
It's an old survival instinct. Thousands of years ago, knowing who was in your tribe and who was a stranger was a matter of life or death. Our brains are still wired for that tribalism. It's much easier and faster for the mind to categorize people into groups than to see every single person as a unique individual. The problem is that while that instinct kept us safe in caves, in the modern world, it just creates walls where there should be bridges.
Okay, so my next question from you is, why do how do people lose humanity? How does jealousy affect a person's humanity?
Jealousy is a lens that distorts everything. It shifts your focus from what you can give to what you lack. When you're consumed by jealousy, another person's success doesn't feel like a win for humanity. It feels like a personal loss for you. It
Okay,
turns
so
a
my next
potential
question from
partner or
you is,
friend into
do people lose humanity when they follow crowds blindly?
I think they do. When you stop thinking for yourself and just mirror the group, you're essentially handing over your moral compass to someone else. It's a way of avoiding the personal responsibility of being kind or just because everyone else is doing it. That's how people end up doing things they'd never do alone. They trade their individual humanity for the safety of the crowd.
Okay, so my first question from you is, when do people realize they were wrong in how they treated someone?
Usually it happens in the quiet moments when the noise of the ego or the crowd dies down and they're left alone with their own thoughts. It often comes when they experience a similar pain themselves or when they see the long term wreckage their actions left behind. It's that
Okay, so that was
sudden,
a really nice answer. So I want to know that how often do we practice humanity in small daily moments?
surprisingly rarely, if we're being honest, I most of us move through the day on autopilot, just trying to get from point A to point B. We might be polite, but real humanity, the kind where you actually stop and truly see another person, usually only happens when we consciously decide to break that autopilot. Like it's those tiny intentional pauses that actually make the difference.
Okay, so my next question from you is, what is more important, being kind or being right? No, that
Kindness
not was
wins.
my question. So my question from you is humanity something we talk about or something we actually live?
Too many people treat it like a topic of conversation or a badge they wear rather than a way of existing. Talking about humanity is easy, it's an intellectual exercise, but living it, that's the gritty part. Living it means choosing empathy when you're exhausted or being kind to someone who doesn't deserve it. It's the difference
Okay.
between knowing the definition of a word and actually embodying it in the way you treat the people around you.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's session. Humanity is not just about big action, it's in small things, how we speak, how we listen, and how we treat people when no one is watching. If there's one thing to remember, it's this: being human is easy, but being humane is a choice. Thank you so much for joining me and my AI in this meaningful conversation. This is Alina Batool, Humanity Wali, signing off. Stay kind, stay real, and never lose your humanity. So, viewers, I hope you guys liked it, enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Allah Hafiz and Pakistan Zindabad.